for being here, and for your support of Lorcana. Now, Ravensburger is an award-winning publisher of games, puzzles, toys, a family-owned company that's been around for over 140 years. That's been thrust into the spotlight over the last year with the launch of Disney Lorcana trading card game. Now, we're here today with some of the main architects of this pop culture phenomenon. So here from Ravensburger for Disney Lorcana, we have Ryan Miller, brand manager and co-game designer. Brent Strong, executive creative director at Walt Disney Imagineering. Steve Warner, co-creator and game designer. Shane Hartley, creative director of Global Games. Michelle Brady, Ravensburger Global Community and Engagement Manager.
This is where it started, D23 2 years ago, so it's great to be back here. Yeah, it's amazing.
So you're here celebrating the 1-year anniversary of launching Disney Lorcana trading games. Now, it's interesting to hear your perspective on what this first year's been like for you.
It's been like a roller coaster on a rodeo. It's been wonderful. It's really an honor to be a part of something that has brought so many smiles to the world, so many people together. It's been great. Lots of memories from the year. Of course, starting at D23. I mean, you all are, D23 folks. You're where this all began, right? When we announced it 2 years ago, the last D23, and we're blown away by the reception that we got there. We were not prepared at all, but it was amazing. And then, of course, we launched a year later at Gen Con last year, and once again, it's blown away by the support. It was amazing. So many people came by, so many families came by to say they played with their family, which I just love. So many couples, oh, my wife won't play this game, but she'll play Lorcana with me, and I'm like, yes, outstanding. Yeah, it's just been a wonderful year. Yeah.
Can you just tell us a bit more about well, let's see, you've sold how many cards?
1 billion.
Wow.
1 billion cards. How do you comprehend that? Everyone's like, my collection's not worth as much now. 1 billion cards.
It would be about, I think it was 1.5 times around the world if you put the cards.
If you put all the cards out.
Yeah, if you put the next to each other and go circle the world 1.5 times.
If you have enough ink to play the cards.
It's 131,000 cards now.
Okay. Outstanding.
So let's see, that's 1 billion cards out in the community, 400,000 downloads of Lorcana.
Yeah, we have this wonderful app, and we've got, there's a lot of numbers for this year. Like, we're in so many places now. And then soon we'll be in China and Japan, in Southeast Asia. We just launched in Australia, where my Aussies at. You got some Aussies here? No? Oh, they're on the other side of the planet. Oh, that's right, I forgot. They're on the other side. But it's just been, it's the first truly global brand that Ravensburger has done. So it's just amazing.
Now, Brent, can you tell us a little bit about it from the perspective of an Imagineer?
Well, this is such, it's my privilege, by the way, to be up here with all of you guys playing this game. I mean, one of the things that everything we do at Disney is about storytelling, right? Whether it's our attractions, whether it's our rides, our theme parks, or movies. And what I love is the way that Lorcana has captured the storytelling, right? Has captured the stories that are out there, right? Like if you've seen the movies, and it's so clear that you guys love the movies and love everything so much, it makes sense that Rapunzel heals characters as she comes into play, or that Mother Gothel comes in with damage and what have you. And what I love is it means that every single game is a story, right? It is a narrative. And I've been playing with my 10-year-old and my 8-year-old, and we just have so much fun with the stories that unfold on the table in front of us, right? Of, Anna going up to challenge Chernobog, or Pluto defending Ursula from an attack, and it creates these wonderful new narratives with characters that you love. And I think that that's really great, is that it brings all the players into the storytelling.
Brent is so funny because he's understating his involvement here. I think he's like, I'm honored to be up there, but this guy has been so amazing. Spreading the love inside of Disney and like just really, I remember one of the times I came down to visit you, he's like, yeah, we can meet in Glendale at the office, or we can meet at the park and just walk the park. And I'm like, yeah, let's meet at the park. I mean, are you kidding me?
That's not my third decision.
Like, oh my Lord, yes, let's meet at the park, Brent. Please, let's do that. And then, of course, in the meantime, I'm going, what is my job? Like, this is nuts. Like, sorry, gotta go on a business trip, you know, gonna get on down to the park, walk around with an Imagineer, Disney, top cards.
But he didn't bother to invite the rest of us.
You want to comment on this, Ryan?
I did not invite them. There was a bit of an oversight.
Next
There'll be other times, but it was just wonderful. Well, because I wasn't expecting it. I was just like, oh, we're gonna meet at the office and talk and brainstorm and all that stuff. Oh my, yeah, it's just but it was great because I think, like Disney, I think the three main ingredients to a great experience is love, attention to detail, and hard work. And I think that Disney just does that so well. And I think it's exemplified by the park experience. Like the attention, and attention to detail is the most important part because that's how you tell people you love their stories, you love these characters, we love them, and the attention to detail is what brings it out. And of course, the parks are just brimming with it. I mean, the attention to detail in that park is always impressed me. Even when I was a little boy, coming to, because I grew up in Bakersfield, which is about 3 hours north of here, and would occasionally get taken here by my grandmother. It's just impressive, right? And so I think that we align so well on that, like, because attention to detail is one of the things that we allow us to really strive for in our experiences. And so it's just, yeah, it's wonderful.
Can you tell us a little bit about, we don't have to necessarily get into the exact numbers, but just a little more about this first year for you and what the growth has meant to you?
I think for me is just the stories, right? I had a guy at Gen Con come up to me and he said, my 2 daughters have been struggling with their reading and decided on their own to get better at reading so they could play Lorcana with their dad, right? And I'm like, I don't know that there's a better compliment to any work that I've ever been attached to. I was in the Atlanta Challenge event, and a group came up. I was signing cards and such, and he said, oh, this guy over here, that's my best man at my wedding, and I met him at Lorcana, right? And I'm like, that's what it's about, right? Like sitting down with your friends and family, making memories is so wonderful, and so it's just, yeah, it's really cool. What about some memories?
There was a time during Set 3, I was at the con event where they were showing things, and there was a lady there that was using Lorcana to practice against her disability for dyslexia. And so she would use the cards, read the cards all the time, and she just enjoyed the cards so much that was her kind of release and a way for her to practice, and that was great. There's, even just today, there's been so many stories of families, and one person walked by, and just as they were walking by, they're like, oh, my grandkids also play with me. And
Yeah.
for me, that feels like the things, right? Those stories that we hear, to me, is the things from our fans that I love getting.
I think that's what we love so much about community in general, is that we're bringing all of these generations together. I remember reading the post where there was a woman that was opening the packs while she was in labor. and then another
Gotta distract, right?
and then another dad that he was saying, thank you for finally giving me something that I can do with my 17-year-old daughter. And I was like, wait a minute, I have a 17-year-old daughter. Like, to get her to sit down and play with me, that's a huge deal. So if we've created something that has created those types of moments for other families, I mean, that's huge.
I'm just picturing this woman in labor just going, bippity boppity bop. Whatever works.
Not now, kid. Not a new jet.
I haven't opened an agenda yet. Just stay in there for a minute. All right. I did have another story that came from Gen Con, and it was this little girl. Her name was Delilah, and she was with her parents. And I was talking with her parents, and she was kind of quiet. And we had a nice chat, and they're like, oh yeah, we played together, it's really fun, beautiful story. And they walk away and say, bye, nice to meet you, and they walk away. And Delilah turns around, and she comes to me, she's very earnest, she can't quite look me in the eye, and she's like, I just want to tell you that I love your game that you made, and it really brings the magic of Disney, and I really love playing with my family. And then she just turns around and walks away. And I will never forget, I said, madam, you are a delight. And her dad says, her name's Delilah. And I'm like, well, I will never forget delightful.
I think as impressive as it is to see these numbers, to see the impact on the community just means so much more, and also creating new ways to make it more accessible and easy for people to play with the Gateway. Getting to play the other night, listen, the TCG Gateway is so much fun. And I won twice. Not that that matters. It's not about winning. But again, we're not gonna count the one loss because we're not talking about that. But it just was such a great way to break into the game, and it seems like a way that I know that like now I can play this with my kids. I can sit down with them, and a lot of families are going to be doing that, and I just think it's really great that you are bridging that way towards more family game nights and time spent together, and I think that that's exceptionally admirable.
I'm super excited about Gateway. It's at our booth. Okay. It's at our booth, but it's really like the best way to learn if you've never played a trading card game before. It's also good if you know how to play Lorcana and you want to help friends or family who have never played a trading card game before. But the idea, Steve and I worked on was that you actually start with you start with like 2 30-card decks that just have like all characters except for like maybe 2 or 3 actions. And you just play a few games, and then there's these special packs. And as you play a few games, you start kind of unlocking these packs, and the packs have new concepts in it. So one pack might have the hiding cards in it, right? One pack might have songs in it, something like that. So it's a really cool way for people who aren't familiar with trading card games to kind of learn as they play, kind of go and that sort of thing. And by the time you're done, then you have a 60-card deck, you know all the concepts. So we're really excited. We're launching it. We just launched it a few weeks ago, and yeah, it's very exciting.
And it has a Winnie the Pooh wizard.
It does have the honey wizard in it. Yeah, my favorite piece of art of all time.
Now, which came first in your thought process when designing the game? Game mechanics or the Disney franchise?
So this was always Disney first. We started knowing that we were going to be working on a Disney TCG. We built sort of guidelines on what we wanted to do first, and what our target audience was. And so originally I was just asked if we could make a TCG out of a Disney franchises. I was like, sure, you can make it. And there was a lot of talk that went in between, and then once we got the green light, I knew that I needed Ryan on my team to help.
Right.
Ryan and I have worked so long together. And
23 years now.
And so we got together and we figured out who we wanted this game to be for and how we wanted to go about doing it, and trying to figure out what would make it the most fun game, but still maintain that magic of Disney. And I think that we got to a really good place after a lot of trial and error. But it was a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was freelancing and I was doing a freelance job for Ravensburger, and Steve was already working there as my game design manager. We were working on this really fun game together, and then towards the tail end of that, he says, "Hey, we got this new project coming up." It was called Project Famous at the time because it was actually the whole idea came up from the Ravensburger group going out to a bar called The Famous in Glendale, and came up with this idea. And now so we just named it Project Famous after. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons adventure, right? You start in a tavern, right? But yeah, and then he told me about it, and I've been a Disney fan since a little boy. I've been doing trading card games for 25 years, and I'm like, yes, let's put those two together and make something great. And really, we wanted something that, we love our gamers. We wanted something that they could really dig into with their strategy and different combos and things like that. But we also wanted a game that was relatively easy to pick up, right? And for people, especially for folks who've never played a trading card game before. And it was really tempting for us to go nuts and just do some kind of super innovative system and all this crazy and do something that's never been done before in trading card games. And we quickly realized that is just getting in the way of the theme, right? We didn't design the final design itself was not meant to be innovative. It was meant to elevate the theme so that we as designers could be kind of get out of the way, and y'all could just play with your favorite characters and have fun stories with the theme.
And how did you approach it to make sure that it was successful in that way?
Well, I think trading card games do this kind of well, I think, because the basic system is like the structure of a house, right? It's the beams, it's the foundation, that sort of thing. And really the cards are what can add that kind of complexity and strategy and all that stuff. And so the structure itself can be fairly simple and easy to pick up. But it's the cards that kind of add the furniture and the pictures on the walls and stuff like that really, so the TCG players, they find that strategy in the combos and the way they build their decks and how they play their decks. And the new players can make a princess deck and play their princess deck. So it's got a nice mix, I think, of easy to pick up and just fun with your favorite characters. But if you really want to find extra strategy, there's a whole other level for that.
And I love, you're talking about fun with your favorite characters. I love that you've built such a versatile system that it allows for all your favorite characters to be a part of it. Like every character is someone's favorite, especially like out here at D23 and seeing all of like the deep cut cosplay that just brings me so much joy. But like the fact that no matter who your favorite character is, they can find a home here, right? Like, I can't tell you how many movie nights have led to game nights, and game nights have led back to movie nights, which has been really fun.
I was just talking with a gentleman from the press that plays now, and he had never seen Sword in the Stone. That's what I said. Sword in the Stone is my favorite Disney film. It is a yes. It is like a masterpiece. It's a wonderful show, and that's why there's a disproportionate amount of construction in the game. Because if you can't abuse your power, why have power? What's the point? Yeah. So, but he told me that he played it. He was like, "What are these cards?" And so he went and watched the film, and now he loves the movie. And I'm like, so for our game to do something like that is just super cool. Rochelle, you have that story about John Silver, or yeah, is it about John Silver?
Well, so when the game was coming out, John Silver hadn't been revealed yet, and it was one of the last reveals that we did, and kind of saved it because we knew that for some people it is their favorite character, and it was kind of incredible to just when we shared it. I think it was the last reveal, if I'm not mistaken, but the last reveal for the first chapter, and when we shared it, there were people who were like, "Oh, my mind is blown! I didn't even think Treasure Planet was possible. Someone remembered Treasure Planet."
There was a Discord channel that actually had an audible cheer for it when it was announced too.
And the thing that was so great about that though is that people were freaking out and screaming. Someone said that they were screaming to the point where their wife came in the room and said, is the Super Bowl happening right now? But the really cool thing was that like when that quieted down and from all of the excitement that, oh my god, I can't believe Treasure Planet is here, there were people that spoke up and said like, I don't know what this is, and they were starting to talk about Treasure Planet and explain it, and so many people were like, I went and watched it the night and came back and talked about it in our Discord, so it's great how like Lorcana is also about sharing stories.
Fantastic, because I still remember a time period on Disney Channel when they would play the Treasure Planet commercials for the making of the soundtrack with Trent Reznor all the time and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So that is very specific and germane to I do. Do you remember he'd like float down, and then that was how I ended up getting into Iris, and it became one of my favorite songs because of Treasure Planet and because of that entire moment. And I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
And Brett mentioned how the deep cuts, and one of my favorite stories about it is that Sergeant Tibbs is there. And so many people saw, where is this from? And so they would ask other people, and they'd find out it's from Dalmatians, and they'd go watch 101 Dalmatians, and it was great. I loved hearing that.
I mean, it goes right back to what we've always said, like, it's the magic of storytelling.
Yeah.
And our game is not only are we putting the stories into the game, but now we've exposed these stories again to a new generation. And it just feels amazing that we're able to, be a part of that.
What can I say except you're welcome?
He's been waiting for so long.
Well, if you want to talk about Disney music, song cards are a unique aspect of Disney Lorcana.
Song cards.
Can you explain how Disney's musical legacy is integrated into the gameplay?
Early on, we had the game that we wanted, and we wanted to make sure that we really spoke to the Disney fans. And one of the primary aspects of Disney is their songs. And I had made the comment that I think that songs should be in the game, but I wasn't exactly sure how we should do it. And I think it was the next day, Ryan shows up with 3 different designs on what we could do for songs. It's like, we can do it this way, this way, and this way. And so we set up some cards and we started trying it out. And it's like, oh, this one, this way doesn't work. Like, oh, we can see how this is gonna work. And we got to the version that it is now. We really enjoyed the fact that it provided but with a strategic element in the game on using these songs, and you can use your character to sing them, which puts your character at a disadvantage, or you can use your own resources to use them, but then you wouldn't have them for other things. And it just made so much sense mechanically, and it was so powerful from a Disney standpoint that it just felt perfect.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, just make sure that every game that you play around your kitchen table turns into karaoke.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. Yeah, whenever I go, you know, let it go, and they have to let go of their character. They have to go away. Or one jump ahead of the red line.
And plus, you have the sword.
I love that. And now, finally, what can I say except you're welcome? Oh, it's so fun.
Ryan's been waiting for that card.
I know, I have. Yeah, to me, I actually don't remember that. I thought, when I'm trying to remember like who came up with what, I could have sworn Steve came up with the song again. But I do remember us kind of going, we have to have songs. Like they have to be, and it can't just be dressing. It has to be part of the game. You know, it has to be something. And so, yeah, I'm really tickled we came up with something that is not just a fun thing, but it also was strategically very important too. So I'm just tickled that such a thematic mechanic became such a really strategic one as well. So
Yeah, integral part of the game,
yeah, yeah, and some of the songs are the most powerful cards in the game too. So as it should be.
I love songs, but I also really love art. Can you tell me about some of the cards, your favorite cards that you've designed?
So we didn't do the art for them because if I did art for a card, it would not be good at all. It would not even get to Disney approvals. Like it was really right at it. We did design. So these are some of our favorite cards from a mechanical standpoint that we did design.
Yeah.
The first one is Steve's. One of the most powerful cards in the game.
Rapunzel is one of my favorites. I love the tie-in with mechanics and the movie. Of course she heals, she provides a great bonus inside the game. And it's just a really powerful effect. And so it was right at the right spot of being a really good card, but not too powerful, and doing what she should be doing from a franchise standpoint.
Yeah, it's so funny because like Steve, I used to call Steve the dream killer because I would come to him with like a really cool idea and he'd be like, well, this is the 9 ways that it's broken, right? And I'd be like, you're right, Steve. And now, it's a term of endearment because I'd much rather he do that than players do that, right? So I'm normally the one going, oh, this card can draw you 3 cards. And you'd be like, drawing cards is very good, Ryan. Don't have a card that draws you too many cards. And then this yokel comes up with this stuff, right? Steve, what happened? I'm not the dream killer.
The other one that I really love is Ariel, the Sonic Warrior. Because the nice thing about Floodborne is that it lets us do kind of a what-if situation with a lot of cards. And I'm a huge fan of Ariel. I grew up watching the movies so often. And so this was actually one of the cards that I had designed way back when we first started. It was one of the first designs that I had.
It was like design number 120 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was really literally like that early on. It was supposed to be set 1. That card was supposed to be set 1.
Yeah, but it just wasn't ready for it. Set 1 wasn't ready for her.
Yeah.
And I just love the mechanics of, when you play a song, she gets to do something. And so it was so much fun to build that card.
Yeah, and I've been rooting for Steve for this card because every set we bumped it back to set 2. We're like, no, maybe not set 2, bumped to set 3, and now it's finally.
Well, yeah, it was because you always bumped in a Merlin card.
Yeah. Yeah, it was revenge for all the dream killing. Kill some dreams too sometimes. It's really fun. These other 2 are some of my favorites. I think Belle, first of all, Belle is a character. My wife is a Belle. She is wonderful. She is super smart. She reads all the books. The only difference actually between her and Belle is that my wife actually did marry the really buff guy. I'm not buff.
Yeah,
But the other thing, I think from a design standpoint, I got some of those early days, set 1, Steve and I were the only 2 designers designing cards. And so we literally just split the set in half. You got 3 colors, I got 3 colors. And I got to do the Sapphire cards. And of course, Sapphire is known for getting more ink on the table. And that's a really good strategy that helps other strategies. But what if it was its own strategy? And what if you have this card that kind of gave you this end game of oh, now that I have all this ink, this card is just way more powerful. And so I kind of put it in the file as I don't think anyone's gonna to actually play this card, but I think it's really neat. And it was cool that at least in the early stages of the game, the first couple sets, it was a really heavily played card, and I thought it was pretty cool. And Piglet to me is he's just my favorite character. I love piglet. So anytime I can make, especially like a warrior piglet or a pirate piglet or something like that, just really tickles me. I've been a Pooh fan since I was a little boy. My grandma, I actually had a Winnie the Pooh doll that in my memory is like this big, but was probably actually this big. You know how that works, right? And I remember one time my grandmother put me to bed, my brother to bed, and she takes that Pooh Bear and sits him out the door. And she says, "Now, Pooh Bear, you make sure these boys get a good night's sleep." And then she starts to walk away and she hears me go, "Okay, I will." I was like, but I always loved Piglet. I always thought he was really cool. I love this character. I love that he's like this tiny little pig. So when I came to, I love the idea though of making like a warrior Piglet. It's like so fun. Again, the what if is just so fun, but he's still Piglet. Like he's still like, you know, he's not like, it was super fun.
Now, I hear there's a team mascot.
Yeah, there
For
is.
Steve's team.
Yeah, there is a game development team mascot. It is the most magnificent boat snack you will ever met. It's so great. He encompasses our game development team so well.
I respect it.
Wow, way to tell on yourself there, Steve.
No, he always manages to do the right thing.
That's true.
And he's a true friend to everybody, so.
And he eats.
And he eats. Yeah. And he's very majestic. I love his
Just
Just
like
the
you don't want to.
Well,
Now, this takes us into the next segment around Disney Lorcana's art and design. A realm that runs on the magic of stories. Now, Shane, the idea of creating a world seems overwhelming. Where do you even start?
Well, I mean, we started with the stories. In our game, we have what we call story stars. All of the Disney stories are fragments within these story stars. And this is all housed within the Illuminary, which is, the Illuminary is amongst all these story stars in the realm. And so we needed a place to be able to say, okay, how do we get those stories out of those story stars? And we created these ink casting rooms within the Illuminary. And the Illuminary was created to look like it was always moving, alive, glowing, like this is amazing, this expansive place. But it was larger on the outside, or larger on the inside than it is on the outside. And being able to tell all, or house all the Disney stories that we have in this game. The ink itself, of course, is also part of that design language. So you see a lot of the flowing lines within the metalwork and the shapes and such. And that is also, you'll see evidence across all of the glimmers and the creation and all the different environments and vehicles. All of that design language is within.
Yeah, I think that like the goal at the beginning was how do we make sense of this world where all these different characters come together. Sometimes you'll have like 4 Mickeys, right? How does that work? You know, we had to make sense of it because it's important. The story is the glue that holds it all together, right? If it doesn't make sense, it will just feel like we're just slapping characters on cards, and that's not fun, right? That doesn't pay true, you know, it doesn't honor the source like it should. And so the world they came up with explained that, you know, this Illuminary and this world called Lorcana, and it's kind of its own dimension, and it's really powered by the magic stories, and the characters themselves are actually glimmers, you know, which are like magical versions of the actual character. It's not actually Moana, it's a glimmer of Moana, right? I think does that really nicely. And it also allows us to kind of play in those stories, but have our own take on it.
And I think one of the things that we early on took on was that people have their own personal affinities to certain characters. And so we thought the player themselves should be a part of this story. And we thought, okay, you are these Illumineers, these people within this world that actually bring these stories to life. And so through that, we created different areas within the Illuminary where the Illumineers would be called into. So you as players are Illumineers, you're called to the Illuminary. And these are all the different rooms this is one of the maps that we've created. It's meant to be similar to like a Disney map where you have all these highlight locations, but it isn't all of the places. There are many places to explore. And there are many rooms that are larger than what's here, but this just kind of gives a little bit of a framework. But one of the most important areas in this is the ink casting room, which I called out before. And there's some early stages we were thinking about, okay, like how do they create the glimmers? How do they bring those characters to life? And so some early concept drawings with You know, of course, storybooks were a huge part of this, part of Disney, so we thought, okay, let's put that in there. We thought, you know, the idea around projectors, and we had all these different ideas. And when it came down to was, you know, storybook was a very common thing, ink was a very common theme, and then the story star. So what we came up with a process where the story star projects the image or the glimmer onto the page of the storybook. The ink actually flows into this lore book, what we call the lore book, and it is infused into those pages, and from that, a glimmer emerges. And the ink itself, there are 6 different inks in our game, and they have each different personalities to them. And when those combine with that glimmer, that version of that character comes out. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, so if you show on the next slide, I think we have some of those instances of some of the glimmers within this realm, and you can see that a lot of that, the Lorcana language, is infused into each of these characters, so that you realize that these are you know, new and exciting versions of the characters you love, but still true to their, you know, their original form.
Yeah, that's really important, I think, to have that. I think one of my favorite examples of this is, so, you know, you mentioned the inks, and the inks are like almost a lens, and a lot of times the character will naturally fit. You know, it's like Ruby ink is about being daring and dashing and running in and maybe not thinking things through, but you're heroic like that. And so a character like Aladdin kind of naturally fits in Ruby, right? It's kind of, you know, but he also kind of fits in Amber, which is more about like teamwork and structure and things like that. But the other way to look at that is how you can then take a character who doesn't really fit in any, what would, you know, so like what would Gaston look like in Sapphire, which is the color of intellect, right? And now, we actually have like a smarter Gaston, and I say smarter because he's not smart, right?
He thinks
smarter.
Yeah, he thinks he is.
He thinks he's smart, and the great thing, if you look at his card, he's got like he's written his plan on a chalkboard, and it's actually just the same plan from the movie. Like he's just gonna get the villagers riled up, attack the castle of Maribel, that sort of thing. But the smarter part is he wrote it down. He wrote it down.
Actually, there's a blue plan.
Yeah. I mean, he's still buff, and he's still like a narcissist and all that stuff, but yeah, I just love that kind of thing. Like, what would this do? Or like, Ooh, Honey Wizard.
Yeah, because Ray goes back to the whole what if scenario. Like here, like steel. Like, we gave steel to Tinkerbell. What does that do? And then we were like, giant ink. Like, I mean, who doesn't love giant ink? Definitely a fan favorite, and that leads into like each of the inks. They have like a personality to them. They're not just a color. So the amber, for example, we say purposeful. They're the leaders. They're the ones that join other people together. And so the visual representation of that is interweaving pieces and parts. Whereas amethyst is our magical ink. That doesn't mean that there isn't magic in all the other ones, but this is where the sorcerers, the wizards, the those animal companions and such. And there you have kind of a magical fire type visual language. Emerald, there's the ones that the visual language is very much like a snake because they can maneuver and do the things that they need to do in order to enact their plan. Ruby, again, it's like they're the brave ones. They dive into action sometimes without thinking. And we thought lightning bolt, like that's a great representation. And so you'll notice that throughout all of the art pieces that's how we design their clothing, how we design some of the elements in the environment, the magic that's around them. And then of course, you know, Sapphire, which is one of my favorites. I love Sapphire. I love being able to like get more ink. Grammatala, I love that card. Where it's all the idea around sacred geometry, the intellect. They're the thinkers, they're the creatives. So yeah.
Brent, from an Imagineering viewpoint, tell us a little bit about your impression of the art and its creative endeavor, like the realm of Lorcana.
Well, I mean, the work that you're talking about, Shane, is so important, right? You know, I was telling before that every game of Lorcana feels like you're telling a story. It feels a narrative. But such an important part of telling a story is the backstory, right? It's the narrative that no one ever reads, that no one ever is explicitly told, but it creates that consistent world, right? It creates that magical space. It creates those moments where you feel like you're in the hands of a storyteller, right? And I think that, you know, all the things that you're saying out loud here and sort of talking about the different ink attributes come across when you're playing it in subconscious ways, right? And it helps you build your own stories. It helps you build that cohesive world. And it's something that we do a lot of Imagineering. You terms of actually really overthinking the narrative and creating the histories and creating the deep backstories, because it gives you something as a designer to build in those details, to build in those Easter eggs, to build in those references that make the world feel cohesive and alive.
I think you and I were talking, and you were talking about that we designed the science behind it in order to make it seem like it actually could actually be a real thing.
There's this whole iceberg underneath.
Exactly.
Right? And you can sense the depth, right?
Like I gave Brent access to kind of our back end world guide that we have.
Which doesn't exist.
Yeah, you can't get to it, promise. But he was geeking out about all of the stuff that we've developed, and where we've thought about okay, how does the ink go through the book and through this and through the luminary, and we've thought about all those things because we want it to feel like this could be a real place.
And I think one of the things about world building is, as a viewer, I don't need to know every detail. I just need to know someone knows every detail. You know what I mean? Someone knows it. And I can inhabit this world. I can feel comfortable exploring. Right?
And I remember when we first released the first set, and people started picking up on that, and all of us on the creative team, we were like, yes, they figured it out, and so you can see, for example, in the environments here, you can see some of that ink language there, even within Hades' underworld realm, which actually is, that's infused with amber and some of the weaving there, and you can see the sapphire language in the sky above that's I'm blanking Scrooge's. Banner. That's what I was just forgetting. I couldn't remember.
It really is like a hurricane.
Is that palace or is that banner? But anyway, and so all of these different places have the ink infused, because one of the key things too is that glimmers are not just characters. Glimmers are locations, they can be the items.
Anything made by magical ink is a glimmer.
This whole world runs on magical ink.
Well, speaking of the glimmers, that's one of the defining visuals of this game. It's amazing to see these classic Disney characters in a different light. Can you tell us a little bit more about that process?
Yeah, so early on we'll get, we have a narrative team that will help us kind of build out the themes of a set, the story that we want to tell. Game design looks at that, creates a lot of the characters and the play that we want to tell, that theme, which is usually driven by that narrative. If it's a, I don't know, I'm trying to think of if it is a celebration, for set 5, what are all the things that we would do in a celebration and act out? And so that goes into the idea around, okay, what are the costumes? What are the different ways that these glimmers are actually going to be shown? Here we have Basil, who loves Basil. Also, for a lot of people, it's a deep cut. People don't know the story. And we have a person on our Disney team, Terrell. If you're listening, he loves Basil.
Yeah.
So
we know we'll get an easy approval, right? Oh, you like that character? All right.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
And then we look at a card for this design. So in this case, he was a sapphire character. And we wanted to devise a way of showing that through his costume, and also we knew that he was going to be probably flying based on his mechanic, and so we used his flying contraption. It was of course in the film, but bringing it in a new way for within the world of Lorcana and also with his ink. And so through all on Dreamborn and Floodborn, we do that initial costumes design. Once that's approved, we go into what we call thumbnail sketches, which are the layout for each card. And then once the team likes that direction, then we go on to what we call a color sketch, which usually just blocks out the color quickly, gives a good feeling for or way it's going to appear on the card. And then the next step is what we call FAC, which means final approved color, and that's when the Disney team gives us that final thumbs up. And all along the way, the Disney team is partnering with us and guiding us, and they're really, they're just as jazzed about this as we are.
But it's that attention to detail, right?
Yes.
This is where that comes in. We're talking, you all know how small the card art is on the card, but when we are looking at Disney, it's way up on the screen, and we're picking out stuff. They'll draw on the screen with us and stuff. It's amazing, the amount of detail that we get in. It's so cool.
Yeah, and we're working with some of the amazing Disney animators. We have people that have been here for a long time, and being able to work closely with them and their knowledge of the characters as well, and it's a really great experience. I love it. It's awesome.
for sharing that with us.
Yep.
Now, we've come to learn how the game came to be, how the realm and glimmers are created. Let's talk a little bit about fans playing the game. I hear people lined up outside Disney last night for the latest set releases, Shimmering Skies, in Paris, and all around the world, fans were lining up at midnight to get their hands on Disney Lorcana.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of what's been talked about is just physically creating the cards. But you know, I've been with the team for a year and a half now, so shorter than the rest of the people on stage. But Ryan had approached me last year asking about ways that I could engage with fans and players. And so one of the things that I saw was that right out the gate, there was a lot of thought put into the pure Disney fan level. But it is a trading card game, and so there was this whole section of fan that were existing trading card game fans that I felt like we could do something for. And that's where the vision for Disney Lorcana Challenge, for those of you who have heard of it before, I have seen people here today that have gone to a Disney Lorcana Challenge. That's where that came from. And so, you know, we've already done 6 of them, and so in North America and Europe. And for those of you who have not heard of Disney Lorcana Challenge before, these are massive events. There's thousands of people that have participated in these events. Almost tens of thousands, I think, actually, at this point.
Total, yeah.
Total. Oh, actually, it is more than tens of thousands. Anyway.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, it was this thing of like, the team knew that Disney fans were going to jump on this, and it was not totally clear how much the existing TCG fans would jump on this. And so, you know, a little bit when we put tickets on sale for the first ones, they sold out in 5 seconds.
5 seconds?
Yeah.
No hyperbole. Was that when it was still 512 though?
That was when it was 512.
Yeah, we're like,
And then
let's do it for 500 folks.
we increased to 2,000, and they sold out in 15 seconds. And then, you know, we introduced attendee badges and things like that. And so these events have been, you know, 3,000 to 4,000 people attending each of them. And it's been incredible. We're halfway through, so there's 4 more events in North America and Europe coming up. Toronto later this month.
Where my Canucks at? They're very polite. They do that. They don't.
There's a few.
Love it.
Vegas and Birmingham, UK are next month. Now, remember how I said that tickets went on sale and they sold out in a few seconds? Tickets have already gone on sale for those events and they sold out in a few seconds. Seattle, tickets have not gone on sale yet, but you can kind of expect that a lot of the Lorcana team is going to be there because that is where our office is.
Can I get a ticket?
I do want to mention too though, like these events are really fun if you're a competitive player, but they're also fun if you're a casual player because we do a ton of side events. There's all sorts of cool activities and stuff. It's super fun. So even if you want to check it out, you don't need a ticket for that because that's a special ticket just for competitors. There are attendee tickets as well, and so just come and check it out. You get to meet some folks, play lots of cool side events. So I totally encourage you if you want to go check one out and you're like, no, I'm not super competitive. That's super cool. You just come out. It's a lot of fun. We have a prize wall. You can earn tickets. And then, you know, pick out prizes on prize wall, stuff like that. So I'd love to see all of them.
We're not doing too many.
I thought Steve was the dream killer.
So the panel is past, present, and future.
Everyone's excited.
So these events have to lead to something. And so the European and North American championships are happening at Disneyland. And the North American Championship at Disneyland Resort, California, right here, January 24th.
Disneyland Hotel.
we'll have the dates and the exact locations and all that later. There will be attendee badges for those. There is going to be a qualifier event, so if you're not someone that has earned an entry, there's still ways to get there and enjoy it and have fun.
Or just come as an attendee, right? You can just come and just like the other challenge events, it'll be fun stuff.
We'll have artists, we'll have all kinds of.
Absolutely. And so
And there's a theme park right next door.
Is that what you're at?
these events also, you know, we have this gold Mickey prize card that I'm sure a lot of us. This is a serialized card, so on the bottom you see where it says out of 500. There's only 500 printed of these, and Shane actually handpicked them.
You went to Japan where they got printed with 2 big metal cases.
Yeah,
Picked
few
them up,
boxes.
Shane Smith.
I have, like, I'm the only one that has the codes. Actually, Rochelle always is like, what's the code?
Yeah, that was right.
But just so you know, that these were designed in a way, when Rochelle first talked to me about the program, I was like, okay, we gotta make the ultimate card. This is the card that, you know, this is gonna be the ultimate prize. And the first thing I thought of was like, let's make it look like it's made out of gold. You know, like you're holding a piece of gold.
And texture.
It's not.
And texture.
Yeah.
Just want to make
So-
it
We've said before that like this image, it is very beautiful. It doesn't quite do it justice of like holding it or seeing it in front of you. I guess collectors don't really want people touching it, but seeing it in front of you is really impressive.
I wore white gloves when I
You
looked
did,
at it.
yes, you did, yeah.
I had little Mickey gloves. They actually had the little.
It made it harder to do the job because of the fat fingers, right? But it's still. But I do want to point out too that a lot of people I've heard just assume that we don't have these cards. Like as staff, we don't. No one. I don't have any of these cards. No, the owner, like our president, you know, he doesn't have any of the cards, right? So it's these. You only way to get these is to earn them through this. We don't get.
Yeah, and we'll be using. I know like 500 seems like, oh, how are you going to get through 500? We'll be using these until we go through them all as prizes. These are not meant to be any secret ones given out to anyone. This is literally prizing for the challenge events. But there's one special gold Mickey that only.
Are we supposed to tell them about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That only one person gets.
Yeah.
That is the world champion version, that is a one of one. When we get to the world championship next year, which on the next slide. The date is not confirmed yet. We're still working that out, but it is planned to be on Walt Disney World Resort next
The
year.
only place you can have worlds. I mean, it's the only place, right?
And there's been, in the community, there's been this like pun competition between content creators and then our casters at these events and stuff. I kind of did an ultimate pun here. I don't know how many points this counts for, but I chose a whole new world for the promo card related to worlds. So whoever's tallying the puns, that should count for a lot. But the competitors at the event will get this card automatically, but there will be ways to get the whole new world promo card for other people attending. It's such an impactful card in the game that other than
Is that a good price?
the competitor one is foiled.
Yes. I want to go back though, like the world card.
Yeah,
There's only one.
there is only one.
There's one. Well, there were a bunch, and then you
Yeah.
shredded them.
They're destroyed.
Yeah.
Because you had to find the best one, and the rest went to the shredder.
Yeah.
I went through all of them hand by hand, like
Card by card.
card by card, and looked at every single one. Me and Shane, we went over and we looked at them, went to Japan and did all the work, and we had little hairnets and handled them.
It's no jokes. Yeah.
And we picked the best one, and then the rest of them were destroyed.
Yeah.
So there's only one.
Only one.
You have coming up.
Yeah, so that kind of brings to Worlds. There's only a few people that are going to be competitors at Worlds. But Disney Lorcana Quest, I talked a lot about challenge. There's two things that you can do in the game, challenge and quest. And so Quest is a new type of organized play that we're currently developing that is focused on social play. And so things like cooperative play, multiplayer, even just Disney fandom. Disney bounding to the event is an activity. Having ways to both at in-store events and at a major event level, have ways that you can go through your quest list and do activities to turn it in for some kind of prize.
Yeah.
So it's something that's really important to us because of like those fans that love social gaming and Disney fans especially. Now, we can't really share too many of those types of activities, but one of the things that I did want Brent to share is the idea around something that can be done with a quest when it comes to like characters at the parks.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've seen guests do already and that they love is that they bring their collection with them to the park, and they'll actually have the characters sign their cards.
We did this yesterday.
So we'll have created an autograph for any cards.
Yeah, so you can see there's a special frame. It's got the line and it's got the little quill, and it's there just so it can be signed by a character. And, yeah, so it's part of our future planning.
With the championship right here at the park.
Get your cards in there.
Yeah, so there will be previews of quest type activities at the European and North American Championships. And then the World Championship, we're planning to mostly be a quest event that has a major challenge event in the middle.
Just so that these are fully playable cards.
Yeah, they're playable cards. I'll get a card. They're plus one. That's something.
Right.
What? What? Oh, you want to hear more about the future? What the heck? I don't want this job anymore anyway. Why not? The spilled beans.
All of them.
More sort of stuff.
Yeah, we've got, well, one of the cards in set 6.
Darkwing Duck.
Oswald. You already knew that. Oh my, and that set, so we, obviously it's the next set, but one of the themes of that set is kind of this seafaring adventure set, and so we thought we'd show some cards. Yeah, how cool is that, right? You know, we show some cards that are, here are some of Mickey and Friends that are on this nautical theme. And oh my, that Mickey Mouse is one of my favorites.
Show the one I'm excited about.
Oh, you mean some of the new properties that might be coming
Can I
here?
say the first couple lines?
Okay, go for it.
Okay, you guys know that like sometimes some crimes still slipping through the cracks. But these two.
Rescue Rangers. Oh my. Yeah, very excited. Someone in this room, I think, asked me about this earlier. Like, yeah, Chippendale, those guys? And I'm like, I don't know. No, God. But here we are. Yeah, very exciting. And then, you know, so coming up, so that's this year. Sorry, not next year. That's this year. But in 2025, we have one that we're excited to talk about. And you know, it's kind of funny. We're, you know, there's so many cool things in the Disney collection that's very exciting. And some of them are like maybe kind of those gems, those hidden gems. And this one is kind of dark. And it involves like some sort of pot or
Yeah.
cauldron. Yes, that's right. So we're very excited about this. Some concept art that we're already working on there. You know what the heck? 2026. Let's talk about 2026. Just one.
That's like too far. It's way too far.
Oh, I'm doing it.
It's gotta be clear.
Okay.
So, I'm excited about this because you can finally complete your princess deck. With Pocahontas. Yes, yeah, you'll finally all the princesses in one deck.
You can't complete the princess deck. There's still one that's missing.
No, that's a whole other studio. So, oh, Pixar! Pixar is coming through. Disney World. So very excited to bring this here. This is probably one of the biggest questions we get asked all the time. And I'm like,
We were kind of saying walking up here that like it's been so difficult to have to hold in that Pixar was coming because people keep asking us this. Now we can finally say it's coming.
it's a lot like, and I've said this a lot, so pardon me if you've heard it before, but it's a lot that feeling you get when you bought someone a gift. and you can't wait for them to open it. You know, you're excited and you think they're gonna like it. That's what this game is every few months for us, right? We are so excited for you to open what we made for you and enjoy it, and so this is one that has just been a long time. This isn't a Q&A. Okay.
So you can ask him after.
I won't answer. Well, I mean, the next thing is something we're doing for the folks here. So, yeah, so if you look under your chairs, you're gonna see some really nice carpet. But as you leave here tonight, you're going to get a Mickey promo card. You're going to get our first anniversary pin. And you get one Sugar Skies. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for being a great community. And it's our only way to say thank you also for coming tonight and listening to our
Ravensburger booth featuring Disney Lorcana, where you can purchase the exclusive